You are about to experience Jackson Snyder Presents. Direct from the Vero Essene Yahad, a Hebrew Nation radio original program. JSP is a variety show seeking out Jewish and Christian origins, religion, theology, and history, and doing so in a fashion that is both educational and entertaining. Welcome to Jackson Snyder Presents.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. In this episode of Tracing the Pre-Adamic Race to Your Doorstep, let us look at resurrection, especially how Elohim might handle a general resurrection. Don't forget, if you're among the elect, keeping the word of Elohim and holding to the testimony of Yahshua, then in fact you will not die. This again, according to John 5:26, and many other passages that the Master himself makes clear to us. And our life as spiritual beings is going to be full of activity, full of mission, as we have a millennial world to win, the true gospel age. So let's go on to the lesson, part 3 of this series. And if you can help me make this series more understandable, please do help. Let me know at yahad.me. These recordings were made really when I was just developing these theories. And so we get a little bit here, a little bit there, and someday somebody is going to put this entire concept, two creations, two resurrections, morphic resonance, pre-Adamic versus Adamic race, into a form that's easy to learn and makes far more sense than anything we have learned thus far from religious pundits, scholars, and cult leaders. So then, here we go. This lesson ends up with the animal apocalypse from 1 Enoch, I think 86, which does, in allegorical language, gives us perhaps our best understanding of the Adamic race, and why you are a believer, and maybe your brother or sister is not. Thank you for listening.
Elohim promises to resurrect everybody that ever lived. There are ways he can do that very easily. Easy for him. We can do the same thing, you know. We're resurrecting woolly mammoths right now that have been dead for 30,000 years. Don't you think that he has a library of DNA? He created the thing. He's going to resurrect not only the people that have died in the past, he's going to resurrect everybody who ever had the possibility of being alive. You hear that? That means your miscarriages. That means the children you never had. That means your crib deaths. That means your abortions. That means everybody that ever had to live or the possibility of living. I know that's not scriptural, but it's scientific. Well, understand, I don't think it's going to be just some literal books. You know, he's going to open the book of the law, and inside that book of the law, the little book, is the book of the elect. It's the book of the elect. Everybody's going to come to life. This is the book of the elect. They've already been judged. They are refurbished with the spirit that Adam lost. They can't die. They can't die. That's what this little book, it's not going to be a lot of people. But there's a big book there too. And some people said, well, that's the Torah or whatever. Well, that could quite possibly be the handwriting of ordinances against everybody that ever lived, because there's going to be a judgment of everyone that ever lived. Now, you think that seems hard, but listen, in China, they're building an atomic particle collider 27 times bigger than the one at CERN in Switzerland. This is a gigantic undertaking. Human beings, us down here, we have triumphs and we get things done, but nothing like that. The Great Wall of China, the pyramids. If Homo sapiens, not Homo caelum, can do those things, what is it that Elohim can do? He's the author of life and the finisher of our faith. I have no doubt. Is the word big enough for all these people? You know what? Right now, Jacksonville, Florida, is probably pretty windy right now. A lot of people think that we're overcrowded.
That's what's going through my mind. And I'm just like,
when I do this, stammering and stumbling, believe me, I'm anointed. I've had the anointing on me for this kind of stuff for a long time. And often such comes to me. And I'm seeing you there with a pained look on your face. And I want to know, because I don't think there is any question that is reasonable. I have thought this out and prayed it out so much and for so long that I couldn't answer for you. Now I forgot what I was saying. Everyone that's on the earth right now, almost 7 billion, could take up a 2-foot by 3-foot space within the city limits of Jacksonville, Florida. Do you know that? Everybody that lives on this earth right now could have 2 acres within the state lines of Texas. You think we're overcrowded? The problem is lack of scarce resources in places where they're needed the most. This is what part of our mission is, to ameliorate creation and see to the welfare of the underserved. And we will get to the place where we can do that. But in order to do that with any efficiency, you need more than 10 people. That's what we're building toward. Or you want to dispute me, which you probably will on this thing, then turn them back on. That's good. Well, we got Mary, Carrie. I'm going to try to rhyme every name. Mary. We've got Carrie, we've got Martha, and Ricky, and Izzy, and Oni, Mikey.
Hello, everybody.
And Ty. Ty's here, too. Of course, he won't be here for long. And here comes Allison. Oh, my. And we've got a lot of kids here. The weather's great. They're very good. So I want to go ahead and start up here. You guys, if you want to have a discussion about the girls you saw in town, go out there, please. And the white Nash. It's working good. Yeah, we're going to use the white Nash as an office right out there. So yesterday, in the name of Yahweh Elohim, again, the request was to go over the 2 creations, Homo sapiens and Homo kailum. And we did all that yesterday. Just as a refresher, we look into Genesis 1 and we have Elohim there. It's the priestly source. Some scholars say it is the Elohist source. Yesterday, we looked at Genesis 1 from the Septuagint. And after having gone over the Septuagint with the Hebrew up on Goshen Mountain a few months ago, we found that indeed the Septuagint Greek echoed the Hebrew text quite well, especially in the verbs that I'm talking about, apoiasin and aplasticin. The E at the beginning is past tense or aorist tense. And we went through the first creation begins with everything is chaos, then there's light, and then there's a moon and a sun, and then there is other things formed up till the lower forms of life, creeping things, and the higher forms of life. It's almost an evolutionary scale, and on the 6th day, it says Elohim. That is the title of God that denotes the one that is not imminent, but far away, the one that is up above all things. He makes apoiasin, he makes men and women. Understand that there's no article before either men or women. So my idea is this is a pre-Adamic race, and he puts them on the earth or on the land, and he puts a lot of them there, and there they are. They have dominion over the land. They lack what the next man in the next creation story has. They lack. They're spiritless humans. They're just like animals, with the exception of, he says, let's make them in our image. That doesn't mean there's a bunch of archons working on them. What it means is that the Hebrew and the Greek are going along with the majestic plural of Elohim. Let us make man, anthropos, in our own image, not the man, and in our likeness. And he made them and he put them on the earth, and he told them to go dominate the earth. This is your place. And then he rests, and we get over to the 2nd chapter, and we see a creation story, if that's what it is, that's in direct opposition to the one we just read. He makes a place on the earth in the midst of the land for a garden, and he forms a man out of dust. He doesn't form the man out of dust from up in a cloud. He's there. He puts his hands in the minerals of the ground. He takes the minerals he needs. He forms a human being. The verb again is aplasticen. We get the word plastic from that. It is a molding. It is a handmade person here. And takes the man, and he breathes into the man's face, prosopon, if I remember, the breath of life, the ruach chai, or the spirit of life, which is probably more appropriate for what we're talking about. And he puts him in this special place, and then he forms animals. And finally, he forms from a piece of Adam, the woman, he forms again using the same word, aplasticen. What was the other one again? There's been some rabbinical discussion on this rib bone as to what that actually is that he uses to form the woman. And the consensus now, it seems, is turning to the possibility that this is not a bone at all, but a boner. Yes, I'm sorry. Huh? Well, no, it's not a comedic joke. They're saying that they believe that the word there for rib really is referring to a boner. We don't like the idea of it, but it does make sense to some extent. I've heard that the idea that a woman has an extra rib, count them. A woman does not have an extra rib. We have to take a look at what the text says. And that particular word, which I don't know right now, and it was in Biblical Archaeological Review here recently. It talked about this, I believe. And so we've got a man that is put, only it's not a man anymore. There's an article there, the man, ho anthropon, anthropos, the man is put in the garden. Just one. And he's there with certain animals, and he gets along with all the lions and whatever animals are in there. Who knows? But there is a fence around this place, and it's an angelic fence. And those that are on the outside, which could be hundreds, thousands, or millions, who knows? They're on the outside. He puts the seraphim there, so not so Adam can't get out, but so the rest can't get in. Adam is not going anyplace. He can't even see with his eyes. His eyes were not yet open. He doesn't need them. He is a homo kailu. He's a sky man. He's like the Son of Man. In fact, the literature tells us that Enoch implies that he is the first son of man, of Ben Adam. And then it tells us when he was thrown out of the garden that he has these children, and one of them's name is Cain, and Cain becomes a murderer. And then it says that Cain knew his wife. And what I was told in the Bible stuff was that it was his sister. You go to some of the other accounts of that first family, and there are numerous sisters that come out of Adam and Eve. And in Enoch, in the apocalypse, the animal apocalypse, there again, we have numerous ones that come out. But it says that he went and dwelt in the land of Nod. I don't know what that means, where that is. Does anybody know where that is? That's great. That makes it even better because he finds his wife, and instead of toiling at farming, what he does is says he was the founder of a great city. Where does he get the people to be the founder of a great city? The same place he gets his wife. I'm thinking of Akhenaten, of course, right now, who builds a temple down in Akhetaten, in the 12th century BC. He puts his vizier to work bringing 25,000 monotheists down from the north of Egypt down to Akhetaten, and he builds a temple there. He brings them down. They've got to be Hebrews. Who else are monotheists there in Egypt? Nobody. So we're thinking that maybe he went to a place like Goshen. We know that there were Hebrews all the way down the Nile. We know that there are several temples down through the Nile that were Hebrew temples right down to Cush and inside Cush. So he brings them down. I mean, to change the subject, except what we have here is Cain is the king of a city that he names Hanok after his son. He's the king of a city. He forms a large city. With whom? With whom would he form a large city? It's not village. It's we're doing the process of elimination. It's not a settlement. It's not, okay. So this is not a village. This is not a tiny little settlement. This is not a family gathering. This is a metropolis. It's a city. Besides, how many offspring could Cain have to put together a city there? He's got to have some people. Cain is smarter than those ones on the outside simply because of his birthright. But he was not better than them on the outside, as we see in Enoch. And let's go there right now to make the long story short. There has to be a pre-Adamic race. There has to be. If there isn't, are scientists completely wrong? Are the bones that we find wrong? Is carbon dating completely wrong? No humankind living before 4000 BC? Is everything wrong but us? That's the Mandela effect. Of course, yes. And we can get back, at least the written record, we can get back to 3000 or 3500 BC. And the oldest script that we have, I think, right now, are they the Ugarit tablets? I'm not sure. One of those gobs of tablets that they found everywhere go way, way, way back. 2600 BC? That's way back. That's way back. Can it possibly be that the earth is 6,000 years old now? That's just beyond my ability to believe. It's the Mandela effect. I'm right. Everybody else is wrong. Who's Mandela? Does anybody know who ever heard of Mandela? The man Mandela, the African man who died in prison in the 1980s. Wait a minute. Think about it. He wasn't in prison. He got out of prison. And what happened in 1992 to Mandela? Yes, and he was elected the president of South Africa, who after 27 years in prison, but you ask anybody and they will swear, a lot of them will, the Mandela effect comes from the swearing of people that were in a party and talking about Mandela, and they were all agreed that he died in prison back in the 1980s. They all agreed, and then they went for some reason and looked it up, and they were astounded. They thought, every book about Mandela has been changed by some kind of cosmic ray. It's like, then they look in the Bible. They talk about the wine skins, all right? Everybody remembers the King James Version having wine skins. And then you look in there, and it says bottles. Of course, with the Mandela effect, the people that remember wineskins are saying there's a great conspiracy here. Some power has gone to every King James Version Bible in the entire world and changed it from wineskins to bottles. That's the Mandela effect. I believe what I remember to the extent that if it's different, some kind of conspiratorial force has changed everything else in the world, or somebody has gone into the past and did something to change every single King James Bible from wineskins to bottles. Now, of course, if you look at the Greek behind it, you get a skein, skin. It doesn't mean bottles. It means a wineskin. However, if you also go back on commentaries in those days and in our days, look at Strong's, for instance. They will say, Strong's will say skena or skena means bottles. And they'll say, or wineskins, or bottles made out of leather. And there were such things as bottles made out of leather. But one thing that is for sure, this is translated by the venerable translators of the King James Version as bottles, not wineskins. There's an entire conspiracy here. People believed that someone had gone in and changed that, and changed the fate of Mandela as well, right? We would rather believe what we think or perceive, especially if a bunch of us perceive it together, that some kind of demonic power has gone into every King James Version, every history book of Mandela, and changed it, rather than think that we could be wrong. That's a Mandela effect, please. It gets into Korsakoff syndrome and several others. I've got an hour teaching on the Mandela effect and Korsakoff syndrome and all this other stuff. How about, let's see, the cartoon characters, I can't remember them anymore. Have you read about the Mandela effect? What are the cartoon characters? Yeah, Berenstein Bears. Go back and take a look and see that the spelling of that, some deep conspiracy has been put together to change every one of those old books, cartoons, or whatever they were, change the spelling of Berenstein. What do you think of that? Isn't that exciting? What do you think, Glenn? Pretty exciting, huh? How are you doing? We got Glenn Wise on here.
How are you? I just joined, so we missed out on the whole presentation. It was one we were interested in.
All right, well, you're here now.
Okay.
So get yourself a glass of wine, a piece of cheese, and a morsel of bread. You too, Christian. You're Christian. You be a good boy there? Yeah.
Oh, I am.
All right. Okay, now we go to 1 Enoch 85. I was curious, as are many of us, why some people in a family are very devotional, very religious, think about religious things, research, pray, do devotional activities, and other ones in the family can't get a hold of anything spiritual. 1 Enoch 85. I just put this together, you see. And when we read this, let's consider Homo sapiens, spiritless humans, and Homo caelum, who were Adam blown with the Spirit, who's thrown out of the Garden of Eden. He's told he will surely die. He lives 600 years more, but what died in him was the thing that kept him seeing even when his eyes were closed. He was a different kind of human, same species. He had spiritual life and was supposed to live forever in there, we would suppose, as a companion to a God that walked with him in the garden. This is not Elohim. This is the use of the name of the one who's intimately involved in our affairs.
Yes, you mean Yahweh in Genesis 2. Yahweh, the one intimately involved in our affairs. Now, let me get this straight. You're saying that Genesis chapter 1 is a creation story where Homo sapiens was manufactured, and many of them, and put all over the earth. And then there is a second story of creation in chapter 2, where you have the man being formed, not manufactured, and inbreathed with the spirit of life. And so what we have there from the very first time of creation is a pre-Adamic race of manufactured spiritless beings, and a later race that proceeds from the man who was formed and inbreathed. So we have two different kinds of humanity. Homo sapiens, the first creation. Homo caelum, the second creation. And that all those of the first creation did not receive the spirit of Elohim when they were manufactured, but the man, Adam, was different in that he was not manufactured, but formed for Yahweh and given the Spirit. Two different types of human beings at the same time, and until Adam was thrown out of garden, along with Cain, these two types had never met before. Am I right there?
You are exactly right. Thank you very much for explaining that.
After this, in 85, I had another dream. I will show the whole dream to you, Beni, that is my son. So Enoch raised himself up and told Methuselah. Remind me, I did an interview back in 2003 with Methuselah. I found him. They thought he died, the oldest man that ever lived, but he's still alive. He's in the Century Care Center in rural Panhandle, Florida. He had a lot that was important to say. And I think if I have time, the interview is very short. I'll play it for you because it has to do a lot with this. We're going to be able to see exactly what Homo caelum thinks and does at the age of nearly 6,000 years old. Listen to my words. Turn your ear to the dream vision of your father. Before I received your mother, Edna, Edna, I saw a vision while in my bed. Hine, a bull came out of the land. That bull was white. A heifer came out after it, and along with the heifer came two bulls. I saw a vision while in my bed. Hine, a bull came out of the land. That bull was white. A heifer came out after it, and along with the heifer came two bulls. One black, the other is red. We've got three colors here of bulls. We got a white, we got a red, and we got a black. White bull signifies, in my imagination, the progeny of Adam, who had the capability or was born with spirit among the elect when all the rest weren't. The black one is not, he does not get that. What is that? Genetics? Morphic fields? Something else? And a red signifies dead. Red is dead. Blood. So we've got these three bulls that came out of a white bull and a heifer. And this is a vision after all. The black gored the red and chased him across the grounds until I could see the red no longer. But the black bull grew and the heifer followed him. Then I saw lots of cattle coming out of him. They all looked like him and followed him. That first heifer left the first to search for the red, but didn't find him. She cried out for him with a great howl while continuing to search. I am getting this as the black bull is just having lots just like him, lots of black bulls. We've got the heifer following him for a while and then going to look for the other one. And of course, the interpretation of this is so simple. Everybody knows what it is. We're having Toledot, a history or a progeny of Adam. Adam. The black is Cain, the red is Abel, the white is Seth. I watched until the first bull, verse 8, came to her to calm her down. That's Adam is coming to Chava, the heifer. From then on, she did not cry anymore. After that, she bore another white bull, and this, of course, is Seth. Then after him, she bore many bulls and black cattle. The rest didn't get the white. In biblical understanding, you've got white and you've got black. This even comes out in books like the Dead Sea Scrolls, in the Epistle of Barnabas, in the Didache, in the Gospel of John. There is a right way, a wrong way. There is a good way, an evil way. There's a dark way and a light way. Then I saw in my sleep that the white bull likewise grew up and became a great white bull, and from him proceeded a lot of white bulls. They all look like him. So here we have Seth is the white bull. He is a great white bull. Out of him came, unlike Cain, all black bulls. Out of him comes all white bulls. They looked like him, and they begot many more white bulls. They all looked alike. One followed the other, and many. So we've got in a line of Seth, the white bull bunch, coming out of that one line. The rest of them, forget it. Again, I saw something with my eyes as I slept. I saw the Shamayim above, and Hannah, a star, fell from the Shamayim. The star got up and began to pasture and eat with the cattle. After that, I saw a very big black cattle. They all changed their stalls and pasture lands, the young crying out among themselves. And I saw in the vision by looking Shemaiah-ward, and I saw many stars fall, casting themselves down from the Shamayim to the first star. They became as bulls among those young cattle and pastured among them. We're talking about Nephilim here. Notice how interesting this is, that they became like the bulls. The Nephilim come down and they become like humankind. They look like humankind. They're fleshed like humankind. And remember what I mentioned yesterday, what the astrophysicists say today. If a fourth dimensional creature did exist, it could take any form it wanted. It could walk through walls and it could tear you inside out. Now this next part is somewhat censored. I censored the words. I looked and they all let out their members, just like horses. First time I read that, I thought of church members. We're not talking about church members here. We're talking about just like horses. They began to cover the females, which all became expectant. They bore elephants, camels, and asses. All the cattle were afraid and very anxious about them, for they began to bite with their teeth and gulp down and to gore with their horns. They began to swallow up those cattle, and all the young ones of the earth began to tremble and shake before them and run away from them. This is a real nutshell of the stories that we find concerning the giants. Well, we've got the perplexed giants in the book of Giants. What are their names? You remember? Yeah. They're perplexed. They are perplexed as to what are we doing here? These guys here, they impersonate human beings. They are even able to have flesh on them. Are they from another planet? Are they pre-Mormons that had already populated their planet and come down to Earth? Are they Islamicists from the paradise of 70,000 virgins coming down here? What is a Malach? What is an angel? Is this a fourth dimensional creature? Here they're called stars. The understanding in those days that stars were alive. We read all about them in Philo. He goes into great depth about the intelligence of the stars, names them off. And so they're called, at least in this allegory, stars, and down they come. And their offspring, we read at the beginning of Enoch, we see that there is some love. These stars are able to love. They're able to care. They're able to marry. These stars don't come down initially to destroy humanity. That's not their mission. It's not their mission to come down and conquer the earth. That's not what they want to do. They see the daughters of humanity and desire wives. They desire to live in family with human beings. They don't have that. They take on flesh, they go down, and they have families. But what comes out of these unions, elephants, camels, asses, etc., and of course, in the lore of Enoch, these things were psychopathic giants, we'll say. And the story goes on that they had such sexual proclivities and gastric proclivities that they began to eat humanity and have relations with animals of every kind. And because they have a flesh part and an angelic part in them, they were able to bring forth all kinds of terrible mixtures. What do they call them? They call them chimeras, mixtures. Even fish, mixtures. I think that we could be pretty sure that this is where we get the idea of Greek gods, and we get the idea of fish gods and all this other stuff coming from a text like this. Some have said that Enoch gets his ideas from the Greeks, but I think that the Greeks get their ideas from him because their gods are part this and part that. Today, we're doing this right now. If you're eating creamy ice cream, for instance, the creamier the ice cream, if it's really creamy, then you can rest assured that you are eating a DNA recombined material from the name of the fish. I want to say luff, but it's, what is it, Shifra? What is that fish?
Brother Snyder, I hate to interrupt, but I think the creature you're talking about is called a pout. And I am not so sure it's a fish. It looks like some kind of an eel with a frog head. It's very disgusting.
It is an eel-like scaleless body with a head of a frog. Well, I'm just blowing off the top of my head. I wasn't planning to do this here. So if you want to add details, you're more than welcome. Just come a little closer or take over here for a while. Oh, no, I would invite you to. If you got something to add to this discussion. Yeah, all right. Well, come on up here where you can be heard and seen.
I think, for example, where it talks about the first, there's a single star that comes down before the other stars come down. And it's my understanding from reading other parts of Enoch that it was Azazel who came down. And if you read Jubilees kind of gives a different take on the whole thing that happened. Basically, the Watchers originally came down for a righteous purpose. It was to instruct mankind towards righteousness. So, I think it's the Giants account, or basically when you put the pieces together, Azazel is sent down sort of to take a look and report back to the others to let them know, okay, this is a good time for us to come down now. Basically, they saw how sinful all the people were being, and they sent down Azazel as kind of like their leader, scout, and he reported back to them, and then they all started coming down. That's my understanding of the single star. And I personally think, like, for the three animals, like, those are the offspring of the Watchers. I think it might be better to translate elephants. You could translate Janus. I don't know for camels, but then for asses, I think perhaps, I don't know Ethiopian, but I'm just trying to think in terms of the character of the perversions. You got mammoths because they're giant, and then you have mules because mules are like hybrids. I would think that might be what Enoch was intending, this idea of animal-human hybrids, and he's referring to them as mules. But anyways, that's kind of my insights on the
Excellent. And by the way, 2 points on that. Certain animals are thought to be out of the created order. Certainly pigs, elephants, camels, and mules. They're out of the created order. In other words, the creation of certain animals was not done by Yahweh Elohim or anything good. It was done by another power, able to create. And animals like pigs, stuff that eat mud. In fact, Leviticus 11 is actually known as the Torah of Beasts. And the word beasts there, I wish I could see that in Greek. Yeah, probably it's zoane, living things, but it might be something else that would eliminate such animals as not from the created order. Now, this was a theory that came up about 10 years ago from scholars concerning why Paul talks about eating of unclean or meat sacrificed to idols. And it gets into the discussion that it wasn't so much what they were eating as where they were eating it. And secondly, that some of the things they were eating, like a camel, was out of the created order. And as Lee will tell you, he did some research into these same animals right here. These animals, when you eat them, they have poison in their sinews. There's a high degree of very toxic poison there. And you can eat a camel, all right, but you will definitely get sick. The same with the other one. Poison in their muscles. The clean animals don't have that poison. He's got the research on that. Goes back a long way, but it is in fact true. Oh, the other thing was Azazel. We've got Azazel there. We've got another place where there's two redactors. There's two stories they're putting together. We've got one that says Azazel was the main vow taker, or the main one that got things together to get the rest to come. In another version, it's Shemi-Azza is the main one. Shemi-Azza. Now, I took a look and parsed out that name, Shemi-Azza. And what does it mean? It means my name is Azazel, right? Shemi, my name, Azza, Azazel. So I'm thinking that the two stories are both talking about Azazel. This is who is out in the desert waiting for the scapegoat. They both mean the same. Azazel and Shemi-Azza. My name is Azazel. All right. So what happens here is that the cattle that are innocent, they flee. And when we talk about in the book of Enoch, the cosmic covenant that I keep speaking of, part of that is that creation cries out. All the animals cry out unto the Creator to save them from this bunch. Because now, not only are they mating up with animals and subjugating humanity, but they are eating themselves. They're not only cannibals, but they are eating themselves. You remember in Numbers about 13, I think, when the spies go into the land, they say there are giants there. And the text names off several tribes that came from the Nephilim and two kings that had escaped the flood. The ones that came back, the spies that came back, they said, this is a land that consumes itself. These are cannibals here. This is the land that eats itself. It'd be nice to know what that quote is. I think it's Numbers 13, but what they see there, that everything is huge. The grapes are huge. The tobacco plants are huge. The hemp is 60 feet high, but the people there are those that consume themselves. You got that on there?
The dinosaurs came about as a result of this. Some of the things you're saying, like these things are eating each other, they're flesh-like. I'm thinking of, T-Rex kind of animal. It's just create results of some of this stuff.
Well, you know the dinosaurs are still here. Birds that come right from lizards.
Okay, it's me again. I need to get another summary here. So you're saying that in the animal apocalypse, we see the playing out of these two types of men described in Genesis 1 and 2, and that the white bull race is that comes from Adam with a propensity for becoming spiritually alive again. And these other types of animals are either the Gibborim, Nephilim, or the offspring of the Nephilim. And then there are those also there that have just been the offsprings of those that were manufactured. So you're taking this another step further, the creation stories that is, and applying what they say to Enoch's animal apocalypse so we can see what happened 1,000 years or so after the creation stories. Men and women are manufactured. Then along comes the man who is formed and inbreathed. Then we have the story of the Nephilim in Enoch chapter 1 and 2, followed on by this animal apocalypse to show us the fate of the manufactured spiritless humans, or the Adamic race, the Nephilim, and the Gibborim. That is, those that came out of illicit unions with women. I call them Gibborim, mighty ones. It's kind of like an antediluvian party in which everyone is invited. And I suspect we will go on to find that they just do not all get along. And the desecration of the earth and creation is so bad that even speechless trees cry out to the Almighty One for amelioration. Please, O Elohim, save us, save us, save us from this kind of wretched life under the authority of despots, cannibals, polluters, and powerful rapists. Is that what I'm seeing?
I need to tell you that I really appreciate your summaries because I go off so many trails when I'm speaking, I get confused myself. So once again, let me say yes to you. Very well done. Don't hesitate to do it again in the short time we have left. That's our brother Schruumkoff.
So anyway, it goes through this covenant all the way through. There's white, and there's black, and then there's white wolves, and all kinds of animals come into this, and sheep, white sheep. And what's happening here is the expression of the line of Adam that retains its, let me say, angelic phenotype, genotype. It goes to then to Noah. And Noah is white when he comes out. There's a book of Noah's birth there. He's white. And that's the same thing that happens in Second Enoch. At the end of Second Enoch, we have Melchizedek being born. His father is dead. His mother dies at birth, so that's why he has no genealogy. He has no parent. And then we go down to the offspring of Noah, and we have Shem. Shem is white. The rest are not. Shem, of course, is the progenitor of the Shemites, or the Semites. The other ones are the progenitors of other groups. They also say, I think in Yasher, Shem and Enoch are the same, which is a possibility, I guess, or that Shem consulted with Enoch's son, Methuselah. This whiteness is going through generation. And it goes so far as the first century and even beyond. There's a prediction. It gives you an idea when this section of Enoch was written, because there are markers in here that tell us about people, biblical people, that we know when they lived. This can't be the antediluvian Enoch. This has got to be somebody probably around the year 300 BC. Enoch didn't write this book. You can make every kind of supposed proof that you can, but there's too many historical markers in here. Unless Enoch was the greatest prophet that ever lived, and of course it seems like in Jude when he's quoted that they believe that this was indeed from Enoch, 7th of Adam. Now look, this is the theory. We've got these two creations, at least probably more. When I got done looking into that, I just couldn't help but think of this text, because we have here a genealogy in allegory that takes that whole concept further. There is a white race, and there's an evil race. I don't want to get into racial things. I don't mean it like that. There's the white, and then there's the black, all through biblical literature. Black, I'm talking about this color right here, is considered to be evil. I already mentioned to you several other literatures there that show that. We'll just talk about genetics right now. So we've got Shem and Seth having all kinds of white bulls all over the place. Now look, how much later are we? If these guys are historical characters and there's any truth to this at all, and if there's any truth, creations, which I'm sure that there were many creations, and not just two of them. What does this mean in the field of resonance or in the field of genetics? You know how genetics work. You are not the molding of the characteristics of your parents. What you get is somebody's nose. What you get are somebody's colored eyes. What you get is grandma's crossed toes. What you get is polydactyly from 6 or 7 fingers from going way back who knows where. It pops up. Now, genes only make proteins. They can't make forms. There's an unidentified factor here that makes forms. What makes an arm an arm? We talked a little about earlier, ontology. What I'm saying is there's somehow that this can pop up in families still. There are a lot of blackies in the world. Black, evil people in the world, more now than ever. And angels fell once. Does that mean that they're done? They fall all the time. They're coming from the sky and they're coming up from the ground all the time, all different kinds. Some are intelligent, most are animalistic. Their intention is to suck you dry and eat you, just like these Nephilim did. They would like to eat you, they attack you, they get inside of you, and they eat you through. They nurture on your emotions and suck you dry, and you end up, if not something's done about it, dead. Especially the less intelligent ones that don't know that if they kill the host, they also ruin their own home. You know what Yahshua said about one going out and bringing 7 worse back in? That's very true. Why is it that one person in a family pops up to be holy and a righteous person, and a person desiring so much to be a member of the kingdom of love and light? Why? And the other sibling doesn't care a thing about it. I'll end this up. I don't have a conclusion to this, but you can see where I'm going. I want to just bring up again the story of Eben Alexander, the brain surgeon, just to exemplify the possibility that genes don't have the full mastery of making you who you are. The brain surgeon, he wrote a book, Proof of Heaven. Now, Proof of Heaven has nothing to do with heaven. I think it was given that title so people would buy it. And buy it they did. They bought it and bought it and bought it. It's gone through, just in the last 2 years, numerous printings, and it's already in the edition that's the cheap pulp edition. You can buy it on eBay or Amazon for $1 or so now. Proof of Heaven. Everybody should read this book. I read it in about an hour, and I read slow. I'd say 2 hours. I read slow. Eben Alexander, a brain surgeon, contracted meningitis. They couldn't identify the vector of the meningitis. It was bacterial. They couldn't identify the vector. but the vector went from the spinal fluid into the brain and became encephalitis. And it wasn't very long before Alexander was unconscious and that his brain was full of the vector. And pretty soon he was brain dead because this vector, the vector ate the cerebrum off the brain of Alexander. The gray matter, where supposedly your memories, ability to do cognitive, to do thinking.
Shucks, this is a bad place to leave right here, but leave we must. Maybe we could come back to this next time. Thank you for listening to Jackson Snyder present